bringing you banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger. It's your favorite video game music podcast hosted by two bit goobers, Bit Harmony.
You're listening to Bit Harmony, a video game music podcast, except no substitutes. And I am Matt.
And I am Seth.
Lately, I feel like the past couple months, we've been coming in here with like punny names or reference names or whatever. And I was sitting here when I was taking notes. I really like in Night in the Woods that they're all like anthropomorphic animals, but then they all have normal names, including very normal last names. Like I was going to come in here and be like, I'm Matt Delaney, because like Angus's last name is Delaney. But then I'm like, that's going to be super confusing because that sounds like that's just my actual last
like a
name.
I'm Seth Borowski or whatever, and it's like that just sounds like they're like, what happened like over the past 2 weeks, you guys?
Yeah. It really feels like it's been a long time since we recorded the last episode, to me at least. Yeah. So yeah, I really didn't want to confuse anyone. I'm not Matt Delaney, but in some ways I wish I was. I wish I was just a big bear with a bowler hat and normal glasses, just hanging out in a awful town.
Yeah, I thought about coming in here and saying that I was gonna reference like the store or whatever, the Snack Falcon, and I was gonna be like the Seth Falcon, but I also don't think that would land unless you were already like kind of a big fan of Night in the Woods. So I don't know, it's fine.
Okay, I know we're already rambling, but like, is Night in the Woods like popular? I know like it's decently known and it had a very successful Kickstarter campaign and stuff, but like I don't really know many people that have actually like, played it. We couldn't really find YouTube comments that weren't just overtly sad. I can't get a sense of like how, I don't know, part of the gaming sphere this actually is.
It is both more popular and less popular at the same time somehow than I would think, because it is a pretty big deal. Like it's I think in the indie space it is kind of considered like one of those bigger indie games of that era anyway, of like that kind of like mid 2010s era. And yeah, like there are a lot of diehard fans. There's like a ton of video essays and stuff about the game. And actually my wife worked with somebody when my wife worked at Taco Bell. One of her employees was like way into Night in the Woods.
You know what? Funny. That sounds right. That sounds like someone from a small town just working at like a retail or a fast food job or whatever. And one of their personality quirks is they just really, really, really like this anthropomorphic animal narrative focused indie game,
Yeah, and if you met them, you would be like, this is somebody who probably really likes Night in the Woods.
They got like a Jack Skellington beanie on all the time.
Yeah, and I don't mean that as an insult, because I also really love, this is one of my favorite indie games ever. Like this is a very precious game to me for a lot of reasons that we'll get into, but at the same time, yeah, I also feel like it's somewhat niche still. Like it's like you mentioned, like we couldn't really find too many YouTube comments or anything for this episode, and I feel like I don't hear too many people talk about it anymore. So yeah, I'm happy that we're finally getting to do this.
And instead of dead grandma comments, they were all like dead sense of self and self-esteem comments. This time, though the game being both more and less popular than you might expect, kind of fits into the Lovecraftian themes going on in Night in the Woods. So that's
true. Yeah, there are some.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk about it. But yeah, before we get to the actual intro of this episode, we are opening with our sole voicemail, which was a song request from Night in the Woods. And it was a song that we'd already marked as a potential intro song. So we said, hey, let's open with the voicemail to bring us into that intro then.
Yeah, I mean that just makes good sense. So here is a voicemail from Spriteless.
Hello, Bit Harmony. This is Spriteless. I would like to suggest a song for the Night in the Woods video. You're not doing videos, you are doing podcasts. I have a song to suggest. It is the normal daytime town song of Night in the Woods because it's a chill song. It's a nice song to wander around aimlessly to or poke a corpse or whatever.
Just an arm.
That game has vibes. So you guys take care and don't let your aunt catch you getting up to something. Bye.
Thanks, Spriteless.
Yeah, thanks, Spriteless. So the actual name of the song is Possum Springs from Night in the Woods. Night in the Woods was composed by Alec, Holowka. And yeah, we will be right back after Possum Springs. And that was Possum Springs from Night in the Woods. Probably the song you're going to hear the most, I would assume, in this game. You know, it is like the normal walking around town theme. I haven't played the game since it was pretty new. I played it back in the year it came out was at 2017, but I've not touched it since then. Things have been so insane over here. I just didn't. This is like the first time ever I've completely. I threw my hands up and I said, Seth, you take the wheel on like basically everything with this one. But that said, despite the fact that I haven't played this game in like 8 years, this instantly brought back so many memories. Like the moment, like just a few seconds in hearing it, I was remembering like all the orange. Like it is such a fall vibe game. Like the leaves kicking up as you're walking around. It is pretty unmatched fall vibes in a video game. The more I think about it, the more like I can't think of any game that better captures the autumn spirit than this.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons I wanted to cover it this year, and also like fall and winter. Specifically, this game really kind of captures those vibes, and yeah, I mean, the nice thing about Possum Springs, the reason that I think that this song is so like iconic related to this game, it's very intentional, and like I'll talk about this a few times with a lot of these songs. Like leitmotif is a big part of this game's soundtrack. Like it really is, to me, in that same ballpark as like Undertale. Like the way that Undertale's soundtrack always recalls leitmotif like near constantly, this game does too. The reason for that, though, and the reason that Possum Springs in particular is called back to so often, is because like a huge theme of the game is kind of returning home and the nostalgia and almost melancholy of the place where you grew up and stuff like that. And so like Possum Springs should sound like a place that feels familiar to you, you know? So yeah, that makes sense. And I think that Spriteless nails it. Like the song to me is like the perfect feeling of like aimless wandering, you know, just like kind of wandering around this old town that you are really familiar with. It reminds me of like, it just reminds me of like walking around my city or skateboarding around the old city where I grew up and stuff with my friends. And, you know, I really like the bouncy little bass line that it has. They bring in some instrumentation, like the banjo and the strings that come in, and even like the vocals, like it really kind of sells like that small town feel, I guess.
Right. So we'll talk about it later, but yeah, Possum Springs is definitely meant to represent like a Rust Belt town.
Yeah.
And the main character, May, is coming back after dropping out of college. You don't, as the player, know why until later in the game. And she's just kind of reconnecting with the people in town that she hasn't talked to in a long time. So, like, the friends she's reconnecting with, they have jobs and relationships and things going on, and she does not. She just got back into town. So yeah, she literally doesn't really have anything to do. She's just wandering around looking for people to hang out with and whatever. And yeah, this does a perfect job of selling that vibe. Like, yeah, I'm unemployed in the fall and everyone else I know has stuff going on kind of thing. I really like you said, the instrumentation in general. I really like a lot of good percussion, not just in this song but all over the whole soundtrack. This really gave me some banging on a trash can vibes. Not literally banging on a trash can, but if you're not aware, from the show Doug, one of the songs that they play, it's like Doug actually made the song up in his head or something, right? Like, banging on a trash can. It feels like, I don't know, young people having fun. That's kind of what I mean by the banging on a trash can. And then yeah, the percussion feels, I don't know, like improvisational. Obviously it's not in this case, but it feels like it. There's like these finger snaps that come in around 2:11, and I don't know if they're actually finger snaps, but there's some kind of snappy sound. And even though they're snaps, to me they really bring to mind the sound of like walking down a sidewalk, which is also a sound I associate with fall, even though you're walking down sidewalks all the time. But yeah, I don't have too many other notes. I just really liked, again, that banging on a trash can vibe that I can't really describe in any better way.
I love that. I mean, yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but that makes perfect sense now that you bring it up. I marked at 350. There's a little like 3-note. The bass kind of does this 3-note descending thing that leads into a weird like muted, almost like cell phone sounding version of the main melody that I really like. The song goes through a lot of like different, I don't know, passes of that main melody, which I think is really cool. You know, a lot of the songs in the game, if you actually look at the OST, are like longer than you would think. And a lot of times it's because they're looping or whatever. But in the case of Possum Springs, like the song goes quite a few different places without really, I don't know, coloring too far outside the lines, which I think is cool.
Yeah, definitely. I also like you shouting out the like ringtone vibe. There is a lot of really good ringtone vibes, like Nokia ringtone, like synths and stuff throughout this soundtrack that we'll talk about later. But that was, I'd never listened to the soundtrack with headphones on until now, so I didn't catch a lot of these like softer like instrumentations and synths and stuff. And yeah, I had a lot of fun making notes for these songs, especially because I'm not as familiar with them as I am with like Castlevania music or whatever. But that was everything I had for Possum Springs. Did you have anything else?
No, that was all I had. It's really good, really nostalgic, really you know, yeah, it sounds like your crappy hometown.
Yeah. I can't wait to talk more about the crappy hometown. Even though, in video game form, it's very delightful. When you're first there, it feels like fun. But then, you start bumping up against like the personal traumas of all the people that live there and whatever, and you realize how not fun it is there. With that said, let's get to general housekeeping. Though we don't have too much in the way of notes for this. There's no new reviews or comments, right?
No, I did a quick sweep. No new reviews or comments. So y'all, if you guys are discovering the podcast for the first time, we have noticed a large uptick in attention. So if you have discovered the podcast recently for the first time, please do, if you like it, consider leaving a 5-star review. It really does help a lot. So wherever you are listening to us on, please do consider leaving us a 5-star review. It helps a lot. We appreciate it.
Yeah, really weird uptick in listens the past like 2 weeks. Yesterday, which was a Tuesday as of the time of this recording, was our highest listened to day of the show ever, even though it's just a random Tuesday. Nothing new was uploaded. It's real. And when I say the most listened to, I mean like it's a huge difference. I don't know what's going on. I think I might have an idea. At least partially. We'll save it for a second. But yes, 5-star reviews always appreciated. Any kind of support is appreciated, even if you just want to send good vibes. Very appreciated. I do want to quickly note the schedule for the rest of the year. We mentioned it in the last episode, but I thought I would reiterate it here. Our next episode after Night in the Woods is Angeline Era, that just came out 2 days ago as of the time of this recording. The newest game from Analgesic Productions. That's going up on December 28th. And then January 11th is going to be the best soundtracks of 2025 episode. There will be no mini episodes during this time. It is just super busy and packed. Hey, it's the holidays and everything. Makes sense. I also wanted to emphasize that our schedules are also going to be weird, like on the back end. So if you want to get in a voicemail specifically on the Angeline Era episode, you probably want to do that pretty soon. I would say within a week of this going up on the public feed. Like we might be recording that episode like as early as like the 22nd or something like that. So you're going to want to get those in sooner rather than later. Obviously, when it comes to best soundtracks of the year, you still have a few more weeks yet. I'll be sending out a ping to remind everyone in the Discord about that. But I just wanted to emphasize, like always, if you want a voicemail in on a specific episode, always try and get those in well ahead of time because we record these usually on Tuesdays before the Tuesday before the public feed gets updated. So just wanted to note that. You know, we normally do a postmortem here. The previous episode was our Wintry mix. Not a whole lot to talk about there. It was, you know, we just played a bunch of music. We didn't really talk too much about anything specific. I do kind of want to talk about the Spotify Wrapped for two reasons. I guess for three. I think the Spotify Wrapped might be what's causing the spike in listens.
Okay.
Because the thing I mostly want to talk about is they show you what other podcast listeners of your podcast are listening to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing we are showing up somewhere else, right? And that people are then getting curious is my guess. And the reason I'm even guessing that is, well, from the timing, but I was taking a look at the other podcasts Bit Harmony listeners check out. Number one was the Joe Rogan Experience, which I was not proud of.
That's
that.
The craziest thing I've ever heard, dude.
That was genuinely shocking to me. You know, I realized that that's like literally the biggest podcast in the world. And so it makes sense that there would be like a little overlap, but I didn't think it would be like number one. Like, this is the other podcast your listeners are listening to. I find that crazy, and I'm not trying to like come down on anyone or judge anyone. A little bit, but not like, I'm not going to do it like over the air kind of. It's just confusing to me. We also found out that Stephanie was our best performing episode of the year, which I didn't realize that for one, but also the idea of someone listening to the Stephanie episode about Bit Harmony, which is all about like how borders are just nonsense and don't, like, we shouldn't have them, and love and being good enough for love and stuff. You listen to that episode and then you go off and listen to Joe Rogan. That is crazy to me.
Dude, if you are the person that's like a big Joe Rogan fan and you also like really ride for the Stephanie episode of Bit Harmony, like I would love to hear from you, because I think that is a very interesting person. Now, I'll say this. When it comes to Joe Rogan, you know, I'm not a fan, but every now and then he'll have on like an interesting guest, and I'll see like a clip from like his guest or something, and I'll see that and like I'll watch that, and then YouTube will be like, "Oh, you must love Joe Rogan." And so here's like a whole bunch of Joe Rogan clips. So I don't know. I've been trying to rationalize in my brain how this could have happened.
I just want to say, again, I'm not trying to come down too hard on anyone personally. I don't want anyone to be too ashamed of themselves or whatever. I mostly find it funny and interesting. But if you are one of the people, because like it's number one and Bit Harmony has enough listeners, it can't just be one person that's influencing this, right? Like,
definitely
it's not like we only have, it's not like we only have 5 listeners, you know. So like it has to be at least a few people that Joe Rogan is like their number one other podcast or whatever. I would love to know, like, if you want to anonymously email or something. I don't know. Like, tell me what's up. Tell me why these are your podcasts.
Well, and it could be, you know, it could, and the reason I make that correlation too is that, you know, it could be that somebody isn't even like a regular Joe Rogan listener. Like, the thing about Joe Rogan's podcast, one of the reasons I think it's pretty successful is that it's not as if there's any like continuity or whatever. And I do think that there is a not insignificant portion of people that listen to Joe Rogan's podcast for nothing that has to do with Joe Rogan himself. You know, like I've listened to episodes of that show, again, purely because I was interested in hearing from the guest, you know, and he is almost a completely secondary force. So I wonder if there's something like that. Like I said, I would genuinely love to hear from that person.
Yeah, I mean, that logic makes sense because Joe Rogan is basically just like a dumb mirror ape, and he just
Right.
has the same beliefs as whoever he's talking to in that moment. So that does make sense. I also had this, I know this is not the case, obviously. I love the idea though of if BitHarmony showed up in Joe Rogan's Spotify Wrapped as something that other people are listening to.
That would be amazing.
That would be one of the funniest things in the world. Hey, if Joe Rogan wants to come on BitHarmony and talk about the No One Can Stop Mr. Domino soundtrack, I'd be down for that.
Dude.
On a much lighter note and a more fun note and good note, I was looking through the other podcasts because it was not just Joe Rogan. I'd heard of all of them except one called Into the Aether podcast.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard of it before. I listened to an episode. I loved it. I think that's maybe my new favorite podcast. It's fantastic.
Yep, I've heard of those guys. I think one of them, I think one of the hosts like follows me on Blue Sky or something. But yeah, that podcast has been around for a long time, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd listened to them in the past, and one of the hosts has like a YouTube channel that I like. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I really liked it. I listened to the episode where they're talking about Kirby Air Riders. It's nice to have like a kind of chill BitHarmony-esque podcast that I'm not involved with, so I can just fully enjoy it as a listener.
Yeah,
but also the people are actually intelligent. I can't tell you how many video game podcasts I used to listen to that I just completely dropped because the people just don't seem to actually want to talk about video games. Like
exactly.
I like a good hangouty podcast too, but like I still want to hear a little bit about the actual subject matter, you know. That's how I feel about it. But yeah, I really like Into the Aether. So whoever of you was listening to Into the Aether and also BitHarmony, good job. Big thumbs up for me. You've converted one of the BitHarmony hosts to being a fan of Into the Aether.
Very, very good. I mean, that's a good byproduct at least. So there you go.
Speaking of good byproducts, I don't know. We need to stop doing this. Hey, we've got the Sean Capri Presents the State of the Nintendo Music Address. This is the segment of the show where we talk about the Nintendo Music app drops that have happened in between episodes. In the past 2 weeks, we've had Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We got a little, what do they call it, like special drop or preview drop or something. They added 7 tracks from Metroid Prime 4. And then just yesterday, in fact, they added Yoshi's Crafted World to Nintendo Music. Let's start at the beginning, in this case, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. This was composed by Kenji Yamamoto and Minako Hamano. You know, again, it's just 7 tracks. It's just a batch of little preview tracks. It's not the whole soundtrack, so we can't talk about this too much. I would like to at least take a few minutes out, and can we talk about Metroid Prime 4 and what a weird video game it is?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
I will say, to keep it related to Nintendo music, I do like the soundtrack a lot.
I do too. Yeah.
Was it Fury Green? Is like the first main area of the game, and that
I think that's my favorite song in the game.
I think it's hands down my favorite song in the game, and sometimes, you know, that can be bad because again, it is the first main area, and sometimes I don't want to have the best song of the game like right away, you know. But in this case, I think it sets a good tone. I was glad. I think that's part of this batch of songs. So I like that. The soundtrack and the visuals of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond are fantastic. Like, truly, maybe the best looking Nintendo game ever at this point, at least from a technical perspective. Right. And yeah, the soundtrack is great. I can't get over like how weird of a game it is. Like, it is. When I first started playing it on launch day, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Wow, I'm playing a new Metroid Prime game and it looks this good. I'm playing it in handheld. This is incredible. What isn't there to like? And I think every single time I've turned the game on since that first time, I've liked it less. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I wound up, you know, enjoying the game sort of in spite of itself quite a bit. But it, you know, yeah, it is a weird it is a weird thing, and you do kind of feel the game sort of lives in the shadow of its troubled development. You can see these sort of fossils in the bones of whatever that game was meant to be over the course of its, like, I mean, they announced that game in like 2017, so the way that I ultimately, and I've completed the game, I 100%ed the game, I have chosen to just kind of appreciate that it exists at all, you know, because I do think that it's kind of a small miracle that they got it to the finish line, and you get the sense playing the game that Retro was like just make it exist, like just make a new Metroid Prime game. And the fact that the game winds up being as incurious and sort of, I don't know, like completely uninnovative, like the game kind of refuses to be anything more, and like anything that is new in the game is usually kind of bad. So you know, the fact that it kind of like relies so heavily on just kind of being a Metroid Prime game, I think is maybe paramount to that. Like, let's just put some, you know, let's take all the power-ups, make them purple, and make it seem like it's new.
I love that they just added the word psychic to like all the normal Metroid power-ups.
Yeah, psychic morph ball.
Yeah, and psychic boots.
Yeah, so that you can so that now that you have the psychic boots, you can jump on the psychic platforms. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think my biggest issue is, and again, I like the game. I want to make it clear. I still am enjoying it quite a bit for what it is. I was playing it literally 20 minutes ago. It, like Seth said, it's just so incurious, and it is so not doing like anything innovative in the slightest. I don't necessarily need innovation in the grand scheme of things, but at least give me like a new power-up for a Metroid game. It doesn't even need to be new for video games, or at least give me something new. It is one of the oddest games that I have ever played in my life. And it's also funny because I feel like the reasons people cite for like not liking Metroid Fusion or not liking Metroid Other M are fully on display here, like more so than in those games. I mean, hey, I'm a big Metroid Fusion defender. That's maybe my favorite 2D Metroid. I guess Dread's probably surpassed it at this point, but I love
would
Fusion.
Agree.
Yeah, it's a weird game, but like at the same time, it does do some stuff well. Like, again, technical showpiece. I do think I didn't like Samus's armor, the new armor, the Viola armor or whatever, when they showed it in trailers. I thought it was kind of try hard or whatever, but then I don't know, when I started seeing more and more cutscenes while I'm playing the game, and like I'm going in and out of Morph Ball, I was like, okay, no, I think the Viola suit's actually cool. I think this is maybe the coolest Samus suit ever, actually. So like, I can't be too mad about it. It is a really weird game, and you know, I guess we don't need to turn this into a whole Metroid Prime 4 review,
Sure.
But the desert, man, I'm not even mad about it. I'm just flabbergasted about it.
Yeah, it is. That's probably the biggest example of kind of like what happened here. Like the whole time playing it, I just can't help but think about that. But think about kind of like the weight of the direction this game ended up having to take. And I mean, like, I'll say this, like the game by the end of it, like I was happy with it. You know, like I was just kind of like, you know, thank God that we can still get a new Metroid Prime game. Thank God, like, sometimes just getting to the finish line is enough. You know, like, just getting to the finish line and still kind of maintaining your sense of identity. Like, even though Prime 4 rests on its laurels perhaps a bit too hard, it does mean that it didn't do anything to put the franchise's identity in jeopardy. Like, it's still a Metroid Prime game. Like, if you like Metroid Prime games, you'll probably like this, you know, despite anything else. So, I enjoyed it, but weird is probably the best word for it. And ironically enough, the thing that everybody keeps latching onto, like the Galactic Federation troopers and stuff, is one of my favorite things about the game, actually.
I fully agree with you. It's so funny that people want to attribute the things wrong with the game to like the incorrect source of it. It's so funny to me.
Yeah, like I really kind of, especially by the end of the game, I'll be curious to talk with you after you finish it up. There's like a bit of a theme that is going on here. Not that the game has like an incredible story or that it does anything cool with its antagonist until literally the very end of the game. But there is kind of a theme that the game has of like the burden of leadership and the burden of like being a hero that people look up to. And yeah, like and the contempt that can kind of breed with your peers or the way that people view you. I think that like there's something to be said about that. I think that some of the imagery and the iconography and like the art direction of the game is really striking. It's very interesting, like what they've done. It is making me think, which I appreciate. But anyway, yeah.
Before we move off of it, I do just want to say, when you first meet up with Armstrong, who's like a Samus fangirl, I think that's fun. But I also really like when you first go into the Morph Ball form, she's like, oh, look, she's doing Morph Ball.
Yeah, she's doing the thing. Yeah, like, it's interesting, right? Because, like, a lot of the people that you're meeting are kind of like, the ones who are a little bit more green, who have not been around for as long, do kind of fangirl. Then you meet a character like Duke, is that his name? And like Ezra Duke or whatever. And like there are people who are kind of like, oh, like, I'm surprised that the Federation like has you here, like looking for us, like people that we assume are expendable or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, I think that they actually take those characters and use them to kind of give us a lens by which to look at Samus as a character. I don't know. Like, I genuinely think that, like, their inclusion in this game is a benefit.
Okay, one last thing, especially about the characters. Miles McKenzie did nothing wrong. I actually like Miles McKenzie.
I do too.
Like, yeah, he could let you, like, you should be able to turn off, like, him calling you in the overworld to tell you where to go or whatever. But, like, early in the game, when you get to this new area, he radios you to tell you, like, hey, you're about to go somewhere where we're not going to have a signal, so I'm not going to be able to call and check in and give you advice or whatever. Good luck, Samus. To me, that actually served to underline the isolation that people are always wanting out of Metroid games. I'm like, oh, I'm being cut off from a source of, like, hints and whatever. I thought that was extremely effective, especially because, like, he's so helpful and he wants to be helpful and whatever. So even if you don't like him, I feel like that was a moment that really served to give you a grander feeling of the thing you all claim to want the most out of a Metroid game. Once again, very frustrating to hear people talk about video games that aren't you or I, basically.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And then the other game we will not spend this much time talking about is Yoshi's Crafted World. This is composed by Kazufumi Umeda. Yeah, Yoshi's Crafted World is not a great soundtrack, but I want to emphasize I do not blame the composer at all. In fact, if I remember correctly, for one, they upload stuff to YouTube. Like, they have their own YouTube channel, and from what I remember, yeah, I remember seeing this years ago. They were kind of implying through, like, what comments they were liking or responding to that there was, like, a whole bunch of music that they did that just got cut from the final release of the game, and that they had no decision making going on with that, and they are aware of the issues with the soundtrack and they agree with us. It's just not a great soundtrack. I will say there are a couple of good songs. I like the water version. Most of the songs in the game are just rearrangements of, like, the main theme or whatever. I quite like the water version. I think a bigger issue is just that Yoshi's Crafted World as a game is not very good. I think the game is worse than the soundtrack.
I agree. It's unfortunate, and it makes sense. The idea that they cut work out of the game makes sense, because for a first-party Nintendo game, it's a fairly small soundtrack. all things considered. So that's interesting to hear. I didn't know that, but that makes perfect sense. And yeah, like it's not very good, but the game's not very good either, you know?
Yeah.
Especially coming off of Woolly World, which is a fantastic game, with a great soundtrack.
Woolly World is one of the best platformers Nintendo's ever made. And the soundtrack is fantastic. And then, to have that followed up with Crafted World. It's funny because a lot of people were saying, I saw when Metroid Prime 4 came out, so many people saying, this is the worst game Nintendo's put out in years and years. I'm like, have you seen Crafted World? Because I think that's hands down worse than Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, absolutely. It's not even a question. Yeah. Yeah, no. I just, Crafted World is still a bit of a sore spot for me, as it turns out. And this is maybe the first Nintendo music drop that did a little bit of emotional damage to me. Of like, you know what? It's been long enough that I think I almost forgot about Crafted World. Y'all didn't have to bring it back up again.
Well, what's funny too is, was it the last episode we gave them an A+, I think?
Oh, it was like as good as it could possibly be.
Yeah, if you're a new listener, we always give letter grades to the Nintendo music drops, and last time, we gave them an A+. When it comes to this one, I'll give them a D+. The plus mostly just there because they gave us Fury Green for Metroid Prime 4. That's a fantastic song, so I'll take it, but I'm not going to listen to the Yoshi's Crafted World music. And again, Metroid Prime 4 is a great soundtrack, but this is just 7 tracks, so that's where I landed with it.
Yeah, I'm going with a flat D. And yeah, I mean, like I've been on record before as saying that like I'm not particularly a huge fan of these like special release drops or whatever. I would rather wait until the full soundtrack is available. It doesn't do that much for me to just, I like that, there's some good Metroid Prime 4 tracks on here or whatever. But like it is a marketing stunt, and in most cases it doesn't super work on me. But hey, I guess I'm glad it's here. But yeah, it's not enough to sort of curb the Crafted World effect here.
Maybe this is my bias showing. I liked it when they did it with Kirby Air Riders, but I do not like it any of the other times they've done it.
Yeah, well, like with Kirby Air Riders, it at least made a little more sense, and it was in line with Sakurai's like normal approach to doing this sort of thing. But yeah, like and then also like Kirby Air Riders has a full music player in the game.
Yeah,
so it's almost like hey, get a taste of it and then play the game, and then you have access to just everything. Whereas like Metroid Prime 4, it's just kind of like, this is here and enjoy it, I guess.
This is somewhat unrelated. You didn't pick up the Metroid amiibos, right? The new Metroid amiibos. Yeah, I didn't either. Right before it came out, I saw people saying if you buy the Samus on the motorcycle one and scan it into Metroid Prime 4, that it unlocks like a radio basically for when you're driving around in the desert, and you can play like old Metroid music while driving around in the otherwise silent desert. And for one, I have not looked up footage of it, so I don't even know what songs they play. I don't know if you have that information.
No, I don't know.
But it's funny to me because that most of the time I feel like Nintendo does a good job of not stripping away features to lock them behind amiibo. You can make arguments about like the Zelda outfits in Breath of the Wild or whatever, but like that's still, as a music nerd, this one hit pretty hard. I'm like, why didn't they just this should have unlocked like more tracks. I would have been fine with that, but like it unlocks a feature. Like it unlocks playing music in the desert, and that also, you know what, I'm going down to a D- just for that. It's not even related to the app, but that's what's happening now.
Fair enough. Yeah Pretty bad. I mean, I don't think we've ever had whiplash of this caliber of going from an A+ one episode to a D- the next episode. Like, pretty rough, man.
Yeah, pretty bad. And it might have even been an F if it wasn't for Fury Green. Fury Green is fantastic. Anyway, let's get out of here. Let's get into the actual episode. We're going to go on a break for Longest Night and Pierogies in the Dark from Night in the Woods, and we will be back. that was Longest Night and Pierogies in the Dark, both from Night in the Woods. For Longest Night, you were saying, and I seem to remember this is the case, that this didn't actually make it into the final game, right? This is from like a trailer from like early on or something?
So it's in the final game, but the version of it that made it into the final game is completely different. The melody is still there, but the tone is totally different than this version. This version that we played is the first song that was made for the game, the first like song that came out for the initial trailer on Kickstarter and stuff, and yeah, the song that introduced me to Night in the Woods. Yeah.
I really like it when stuff like this happens, where like trailer music that, again, like this version isn't actually in the game, even if a different version of it is. I like when it takes on a life of its own, like the Breath of the Wild like final 2017 trailer, like that even got remixed in Smash. I love when stuff like this takes on a life of its own. And yeah, this is just a great song. Like this is the song I associate with Night in the Woods the most, even more than just the Possum Springs music. Not a lot of notes on it as a song for me. It just kind of, it gave me like depressed Napoleon Dynamite vibes. Like it's like, with that really like sparse soundtrack, but the constant Yamaha keyboard ass kick, like, I don't know, that's what it reminded me of. It also made me realize that we're like over 20 years since Napoleon Dynamite, so we're probably ripe for a revival of that at some point. I got a real bad chill down my spine realizing that.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty rough. You can't go back to Napoleon Dynamite. I feel like that's so like you have to kind of leave that alone. I don't think like the Tina, you fat lard. I don't think hits quite the same maybe to a 2025 audience, but what do I know? I
rewatched it 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't even finish. I turned it off. I was like, I can't do this. The director of Napoleon Dynamite is the director of the Minecraft movie, so maybe he's distracted enough for the next decade that he won't get around to a Napoleon Dynamite revival.
I do like the notion that like they're giving that dude the Minecraft movie to distract him from the idea of doing Napoleon Dynamite again. Like, quick, get him on this so he doesn't do that.
We're on a ticking clock here. The 20-year anniversary is coming up.
That's so funny, dude. But I think that is well observed. I think that I'm gonna give this quote. You'll probably have to woo me this, but for the sake of accuracy and for the sake of tone, I'm going to deliver this quote. Nirvana, the band, the show, which is my favorite show of all time. There's a flashback kind of moment to these two kids like standing on a bridge. One of them like has their bike, and they toss it off of the bridge into the river below. The other kid comes up and says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I don't know, just tossing bikes into the river, bro." and and that to me is what this song is. I don't know, just tossing bikes into the river, bro. Like there's something about that like that kind of listlessness of kind of doing extreme things because you're bored, and I don't know, like there's something to that, and it's a very childlike thing, like this song really captures a sense of childhood nostalgia, but also met with just sadness and melancholy. And I really like how innocent this song feels. Like the lead melody is like vibraphone, twinkly and stuff like that, and then the drums are like very, very basic, like MIDI drums. Like it feels like something that you would make as a teenager messing around on your computer or like in GarageBand or something like that. And I find that so charming. There's also, we'll talk about this more when we get into more like story specific stuff, but they even bring in a leitmotif for a song called Where's Casey that works its way into this song, which is great, like sort of foreshadowing to like events in the game that like you wouldn't even know about before playing the game. And I think that's brilliant. Yeah, I love this song. This is the Night in the Woods song for me.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a very good read on, yeah, like the innocent soundingness of it, and yeah, the kind of like amateur, but not like accidentally amateur, like the purposefully amateur sounding instrumentation and whatnot, and synth quality. Yeah, it really, to me, is very representative of the concept of you can't come back home again, and May definitely thinks she can. That like is literally part of the plot, is she's coming home again in the hopes that she can, again, we'll save details for later, but kind of get herself back to quote unquote normal. And yeah, that's not going to happen. Like you can't. If anything, yeah, you're going to be even in worse shape coming back to a place when you're in that bad of a mental state or whatever. So yeah, I think that's a real good shout. And yeah, like you said, this is to me the Night in the Woods song. With Pierogies in the Dark, what is the context for this one? I don't remember what the context is.
Do you remember in the game there's kind of like an underground like kind of like tunnel area, and down there's like a food stand. There's like an old lady that you know kind of is always hanging out there, and like it's like lit up with like a neon light. You can like steal pretzels from it
Okay.
and stuff. That's where this song kind of plays, and yeah, they sell pierogies in that food stand.
No, I don't remember that, but yeah, that all makes sense. Like, yeah, this one gave me a real westerny, like awful bad saloon on the outskirts of town vibe kind of thing to it. Yeah, I really like this one. I like when it gets a bit more full right after the minute mark. It adds like a hand drum or some kind of really deep, echoey percussion to the mix that I really like. Again, it really contributes to like the Western vibe or whatever. And yeah, we mentioned like the vocals before in the Possum Springs song, but again, I'd never listened to the soundtrack with headphones before, so I didn't really remember any song having like the soft, gentle backing vocals that a lot of these songs do.
And a lot of them do, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's mostly my notes here. Yeah, I just really like this one.
I like this song a lot too. It's one of my favorites. That Western vibe that you touch on comes from this kind of very reverberated guitar, which makes sense because you're in a tunnel, you know, like an underground kind of tunnel. But what that effect always reminds me of, that kind of almost, yeah, Western, like rockabilly almost kind of sound. It reminds me of Twin Peaks, like the intro of Twin Peaks. That's what it always gives me. And then, yeah, the fact that they work in those vocals that come in like so late into the song, you know, it kind of feels like it's like the buried version of Possum Springs or something, because I guess it kind of is, you know. There's a Longest Night leitmotif that comes in at 2:48, and again, like I'll hit on this as we continue to go. Like leitmotif keeps coming up and coming up and coming up because they want you to think about certain things and certain moods and certain attachments to a lot of the themes of the game. Like leitmotif as a compositional like tool is to make you, as the player, the listener, whatever, recall memories of other moments and, you know, and other things from the past. And that's like one of the biggest themes of the entire game. Like if there was ever a game that needed to take advantage of this, it is Night in the Woods. So I really like that, you know, that Alec, like, I guess, took advantage of that tool, that arrow that he kind of had in his quiver there. and yeah, it comes up again and again and again, and I just think that's really cool. And yeah, I love this song. It's such a vibe. This song, a lot of the songs in this game are just a really good vibe.
Yeah, it is one of the vibiest soundtrack. It's maybe besides Dust Force, it's maybe the vibiest soundtrack we've covered on the show for me. Yeah, my last note was about the callback to Longest Night. I think there's at least one other song that we're featuring later on that also calls back to it. And yeah, as we'll talk about later, Possum Springs literally has like buried secrets, and
Yes,
it makes perfect sense that you're going to be calling back to basically the theme of the game over and over. With that said, are we ready to get into Night in the Woods proper then?
let's do it.
Night in the Woods was initially released February 21st, 2017 for PC and PS4. Came out on Xbox One in December of that year, then was ported to Switch in 2018 and iOS in 2021. I don't think I realized this was on Switch, if I'm being honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played this on PS4 that year.
Yep.
The reason I actually played this is, I'm not this type of person anymore, but back then I was very much, I'm going to do my game of the year homework. And so games that were being talked about a lot, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out of my way to play this. Not that I don't go out of my way to play games that sound good nowadays, but I explicitly mean I feel obligated to play this before the year's up so I can weigh in on it, kind of thing. Weigh in on it as if I have any weight to anything. When it comes to game
I get
criticism.
it though. Like it's still kind of fun to be part of the zeitgeist and stuff. I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, so I played it on PS4 the year it came out, and then yeah, I guess by the time it hit Switch, I just didn't realize. I should probably just buy this again on Switch at some point. I would like to replay it, just not a good time for it. Hey, this is a narrative-focused game, if you haven't been able to tell by how we've been talking about it so far. Though it is also presented with like a side-scrolling view, and May can like jump and run around and stuff. So it's not a platformer, but you do some very, very light platforming elements.
Yeah.
But it is first and foremost a narrative-focused experience. And as we mentioned before, every character in this game is an anthropomorphic animal. You play as May, who is this cat in this like just ratty ass like sweater. Not sweater, just a bad shirt. She just looks unkempt and uncared for, kind of, which I guess is the idea. Hey, all the characters in this game are very, very good and very memorable. But yeah, May, as we said before, has returned to her hometown of Possum Springs after dropping out of college. Largely, you spend the game just kind of reconnecting with the town and the people in it, in particular May's friend group. That is mostly consisting of, is it B or Bea? I think I always said Bea.
I think it's supposed to be B.
Okay.
It's like short for Beatrice.
Right. So B, a goth chain-smoking crocodile who used to be May's best friend. I think they got into a fight in like middle school or something and then just kind of fell out with each other.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Yeah, but yeah, they have like they used to be best friends and they've kind of fallen out. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have Greg, and that's with 2 G's at the end, which is already so indicative of his character to me. Like, if it was just Greg with 1 G at the end, it wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't hit the same.
Yeah. He is a hyperactive fox that likes to break stuff, and he wears a real cool jacket. And then you have Angus, who is a bear with a bowler hat and glasses. He is quiet and dependable, and just, he's my favorite for sure, and I feel like probably a lot of people's favorite. But he's also Greg's boyfriend, which is also just very cute because they are so, that for one, this comes into play later, but yeah, they're so opposite in terms of like disposition, but that makes it real sweet when they start having the like, not to get super into it, but B is kind of doubtful of them being a lasting thing, but then we don't need to get into it now. I'll just say, but But you sounded doubtful when I said Angus. I felt like Angus is one of the favorites.
No, I completely agree. No,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, totally the opposite. I think not only is Angus, I think one of the favorites of most people. He's like one of my, like if I were to sit down to make a list of my favorite video game characters, he would be in the conversation. Like I love Angus, and we'll get into this a little bit later. I relate to Angus so much. I mean, this game, like there's so many like raw nerves that this game touches at, you know, and speaks honestly about, and Angus's whole story is something that I very much related to. So yeah, I love Angus.
Angus, even just his character design, like just speaks to me. Like I don't know, the big gentle bear dude. I don't know. I love it. Kind of the main thrust of the game is, or kind of what makes the game unique among other narrative-based games, is that you are kind of choosing who to spend your time with the most, and so that advances that character's story. So it's kind of built around the idea of replaying it, and each replay you would theoretically be spending time with different characters to see all there is to see when it comes to May's friends. So I've only played this game once, and even though Angus was my favorite, as the role playing as the character May, I felt kind of obligated to rekindle my friendship with B. That felt like the most natural thing for me to do. I felt like that was what I would be doing if I was in this situation. And I really liked seeing their relation, from what I can remember. I can't remember exact details, but I remember really liking seeing their relationship like come back, like rekindle.
Yeah.
You do some fun things when those two are together. Like at one point you go to like some like dance party out of town, like B drives you to there. I think at one point you break into a mall at night together. Yeah. It's cute. It's just it's very cute. I'm assuming you did Angus on your first playthrough.
Yeah, I've done both the B and the Greg routes. But like the fact that you do kind of have to choose is really important to the game. It might be mechanically the most interesting and important decision this game makes. In a very kind of like real sense. Like, you know, we all as people have limited time in this life, and you do kind of have to choose who you spend your time with. You know, you can't do it all. You can't give everybody 100% of yourself, right? So the fact that like on your playthrough you chose to spend time with B meant that you chose not to spend time with Greg. There's a whole other story and a whole other set of circumstances that the game was comfortable with throwing away for you to illustrate that you can't do it all, you know? And I think that's really, really powerful and effective in this game. But yes, it also plays into like a gameplay sense of you now have really good reasons to go and replay the game then. Yeah, I love that about this game.
I think it's a great narrative choice, but also thematic choice and also gameplay choice. I think it's very, very smart. And this game actually has spawned like a decent chunk of, I don't want to say clones because that's very reductive or whatever, but like that porcupine one, like the Fall of Porcupine or whatever, like that feels extremely Night in the Woods inspired, but it doesn't have that mechanic to it, or at least not to the degree that Night in the Woods does, where like it completely like locks you out of like seeing stuff. And I'll be honest, I was a very different person in 2017. I maybe found Greg kind of grating on my first playthrough, and that's also why I spent the most time with B. I think also what it was I loved Angus's design, but I didn't want it to feel weird that I was choosing to hang out with Angus but not Greg, his, you know, because they're a couple. So that's kind of also why I defaulted to B. You know, I remember a lot of people citing Greg as I don't know, like a very relatable character because he works at like the grocery store or like a gas station or something, and then at one point. He's like, "Hey, do you want to go out back and like just smash light bulbs or whatever, like fluorescent tubes or something?" And as a kid, I was, or not just a kid, but a teenager and a young adult, I was never that person. I don't like to just like break things. So like I found that not appealing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Again, I guess I was role playing as May, kind of, and putting myself in it and being like, yeah, I don't really just want to go out back and like throw glass around. Like, something bad could happen.
We could get hurt. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because they B and Greg represent two different sides of May, which is B is a kid who had to grow up too young, basically, who had to, like take over her household. Her mother passed away. Her family's business is like always on the brink of like foreclosure and stuff, and like they own like a hardware store that B now runs essentially by herself. And she's had to take on like a ton of burden. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that her and May have fallen out is because May kind of left like in the throes of all of that burden of everything that happened to B, and B felt like May abandoned her, basically. Meanwhile, Greg is kind of like the fun friend, the mm-hmm. friend that like when they were kids, yeah, they would go out and, get up to do crimes and stuff, and like, be hyperactive little kids breaking stuff and getting into trouble. But now that May is back home and, like they're kind of defaulting to like, let's do all the fun stuff we used to do together. Like Angus views that as a regression for Greg of like, mm-hmm. Like May being back in your life is actually kind of holding you back because she's bringing out behaviors in you that recall, a different version of you. Like you have to grow up at a certain point. And this person being back into your life actually has become kind of a negative force. And so there's interesting tension there. Yeah, like it's crazy the way that the game like utilizes these characters, even though, yeah, they're anthropomorphic crocodiles and foxes and bears and stuff. There may be no more honestly human game that I've ever played. The amount of incredible writing in this game is extraordinary. Like we should probably say too, as long as we're talking generalities, that the game has so much dialogue and it's great. I think it's one of the best written games I've ever played. But it is a lot of like reading and talking. Mm-hmm. Like that's what the game is. It's a zhuzhed up visual novel basically. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot going on with that.
Yeah, a zhuzhed up visual novel that basically amounts to the very, very light platforming elements and,
right.
and whatever else. And yeah, I've never really played anything quite like Night in the Woods. Again, even the games that are definitely aping from it don't get everything from it, right? But yeah, being that it is a zhuzhed up visual novel, we don't have that much else to talk about with the generalities. There are some mini games going on here, like there's a band practice. It's a very light rhythm game where all May and all their friends are playing instruments in a band. There's also a roguelite that May can play at home on her computer.
Yeah.
I didn't really engage with this much. I remember trying it a couple times, but I didn't like really sit down with it. Is it cool?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's it's nothing. It's deeper than you would probably expect. It's called Demon Tower. It's kind of like a top-down action game. And yeah, it's neat if a bit simplistic. But yeah, it's cool that it's in there. I mean, it is like a full game. Mm-hmm. Like you can spend a lot of time with it. It has multiple endings. Like, yeah.
When I was reading up a little bit on the development of it for note purposes, it sounded like when the Kickstarter outdid their expectations, part of that money went towards hiring someone just to make that mini game, basically, which mm-hmm. is cool. I mean, hey, everyone that listens to the show knows I'm a big fan of like fake computer interfaces and like games within games and stuff. So I really appreciated that it was there. I was most interested in the story, so I just never really sat down with it. But yeah, the majority of the game, the reason you're playing the game is to take in the sights and sounds of Possum Springs and connect with these characters and have like emotional breakdowns too, if you're so inclined. I did also want to note that it had 2 supplemental prequel games that came out in the years leading up to release, Longest Night and Lost Constellation. Longest Night was also the original like name of the game, right? I think.
Yeah, the Longest Night in the game's terms is referring to like and another reason why I thought this would be a great time to cover it, effectively the winter solstice, you know, like effectively like the longest night of the year sort of thing, and when the stars are sort of the most visible. And so yeah, it's like May, and it's the core cast of the game basically looking up at constellations, and you kind of connect the stars and make the constellations.
I definitely didn't play these. From what I saw, these were like made separately, again, years before the actual finished game came out.
Yep.
But then they were added in as some kind of update into base game Night in the Woods. I'm guessing that was added after I played, because I don't remember these at all. And then Lost Constellations, the other supplemental game. From what I saw online, it was framed as May's grandfather telling her a bedtime story about like an astronomer trying to get through a kind of cursed or haunted forest to like go meet the spirit of a former lover or something. Did that sum it up?
Yeah, that sums it up well. They're both really good supplements to like the world and kind of like the setup of some of the stories and the characters, and especially Longest Night. If memory serves, I think that Longest Night was available either while the Kickstarter was live or shortly after the Kickstarter was done. I did back this game on Kickstarter, and I'll get into my sort of history with the game soon. But but it was a good kind of like, here's like a little thing that will help you get to know the tone of the game, the writing, and the characters and stuff. And Lost Constellation was more about like almost like the lore. Like there's a lot of like history and backstory with this game, with Possum Springs itself, with the people here. You can really feel like that kind of weight behind everything. It feels like a very lived in world. And Lost Constellation kind of serves to sell that.
It looked cool from the screenshots I was seeing. Also, there's like a snowman building mini game that looked cute or whatever. Yeah. When I get around to replaying this, I definitely want to go out of my way to play both of these. It sounds like they're both very short too. It's not like it's super long or anything, but yeah, I would like to do that. That's kind of it for generalities. I did want to touch on, Seth was saying the writing is so good in this game. Like, not only is the writing good, but it feels authentic, and to the point where I could see it kind of annoying people that aren't used to basically talking to a millennial over text or instant message.
Sure.
There's a lot of like, we don't use commas or other punctuation here. Now, again, I personally like that as a millennial that grew up on AOL Instant Messenger, but to me, it contributes perfectly to the tone and how authentic that feels. But I could see it rubbing some people the wrong way. But yeah, to me, it was like a perfect level of like attention to detail and how these characters would talk to each other.
I think that's the perfect way of putting it. If you've ever like chatted with friends over like AIM or MSN Messenger or something, and that sort of, it's like a style that I still kind of adopt when I text or talk or something, like this idea of we have this way of working in like our like natural stopping points in speech by sending like multiple like not big run-on sentences, like kind of sending each moment of a break in speech as one message, and I know that sounds weird and complicated and like a weirdly I don't know, like investigative look into the way dialogue is delivered in this game, but I think it is important because like the reason that they do that, I think, is not only to sell what you're talking about, but also it's it's the way that people talk. It's the way that these people would communicate, you know. And yeah, I could see some people find that grating or annoying or whatever, but this game doesn't have any voiceover or anything like that in it. And so I think that this is a really unique way of kind of giving these characters a voice that they wouldn't ordinarily have, you know?
It really works. Like I think of like Angus and Greg, those two in particular. Like I have voices for them in my head, and I haven't revisited this game since it was new, but I can still remember what I made them sound like in my head, based on how the text on screen was being delivered, as well as other personality traits and whatever. But yeah, I thought it was worth noting that the writing in the game is very good, but it's also very, very stylized to a certain type, I guess. But I think that's all I really had for generalities. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything else here.
No, I mean that is pretty much what the game is. You know, we kind of mentioned the mini games and whatnot. That is a more prevalent part of the game than maybe we're giving it credit for. You know, they do almost like WarioWare-ish little mini games, not timed necessarily, but the idea of these kind of just like single screen, very quick, like one-off mini games. There are a lot of those. It can be as simple as, you know, you and Greg doing a little knife fight, or or stealing a pretzel, or like, you know, trying to get to the right donut that you want, or whatever. Like these little tiny interstitial things, as well as like, when you're doing band practice, it's like a little rhythm game, and you know, and stuff like that. Those are a little bit more prevalent than you might expect, considering how much we've talked about the dialogue and stuff. Those little moments do happen quite a lot in the game. And another thing that I would kind of touch on too, is that there's a ton of like optional content, of optional dialogue, of optional like little things that can happen, that is completely independent of your involvement in them. So like there's a lot of little things, like a lot of missable things in this game. The game really rewards you for kind of going out of your way to investigate every corner of it, to the point where when you go to like investigate things or have May kind of comment on things in the world, I think everything that she can like examine or comment on, there are multiple dialogue options for. Like you can kind of look at things 2-3 times, and May will like continue to expound upon them. Like it can't be over. There's an incredible amount of writing here, and the game is as deep as you want to make it for yourself.
Right. Like, even though, again, it is a narrative focused game and, you know, relatively smaller scale indie thing, there is like a scope here that's hard to convey unless you're playing the game yourself. Like, there is a bunch of, I mean, technically the vast majority of the game is optional, based on the fact that you're gonna mostly be spending time with one of your 3 friends, right?
Right.
And so you can only spend time with you only have so many days to spend time with these friends. Right. So you're gonna miss out on like at least 2/3 of the game anyway, regardless of what you choose to do or not do, which is just very cool. I feel like that's putting a lot of faith into the player base, to not just to like, hey, we hope you come back and like replay the game and go down the different branches or whatever, but also putting faith into them to like make the decisions that they want to make, you know?
Right.
It's nice, you know, nowadays when people talk about choices in video games, it's like, who's gonna die or not die, or how do I want to spec my character or whatever. And that's interesting too, you know, as a gameplay oriented person, I like those kind of choices also, but it's kind of, it's nice and laid back that the choices here are mostly, it's all like dialogue based and relationship based and stuff like that. It is a really neat little game. This did make it onto my game of the year list back then. It was like, I don't know, number 7 or 8, something for me. But again, as a more gameplay focused person, I view that as a huge compliment.
Yeah, I think it was my number 3 that year, if memory serves. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like in a world where a lot of choice driven games are, kind of giving you like life or death situations or whatever, these massive things, like the choice that you're always making in Night in the Woods is, what do you want to do today? Like, who do you want to spend time with? Where do you want to go? What do you want to explore? What do you want to poke at today? There's that kind of, and I think that because the game is asking you that question constantly, it adds to that like listless feeling that May has, where you're unemployed, you're back in your hometown, you don't really know what to do with yourself. And I think that like giving the players so many like wide open options really helps to serve that idea.
Also, just a quick note, I don't remember anything specific, but I remember really liking May's dad. He just seemed like a dad. Yeah.
The characters are great. Spriteless in their voicemail mentioned May's aunt, who is a police officer, who I think is a very sweet character. There's there's the kid who like who you can go and visit on the rooftop every morning if you want to, and like they're like a big like horror movie fan, and they're basically just like, you can always hear their parents like arguing inside and stuff, and they like go onto the roof to kind of escape them. They're like a little squirrel, I think. There's a lot of like really great characters in this game that are just kind of like little offshoot characters, but feel like they're fully realized and developed. Like this feels like a real place with like real people that live in it.
Right. It feels like almost like if the game had a bigger scope and budget, like you could like choose to spend time with any of these characters, basically, if you really had the inclination. I kind of forgot about I remembered May's aunt, but not that she was a cop until you said that, and now all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I like that. I feel like May's family is again, maybe I'm forgetting something important. I feel like May's family is the most supportive, like the least broken of all the main characters' families, and I appreciate that, especially where the game goes with like May's characterization, what's happening with her and stuff. But I guess that's better saved for after the break. Are you ready to go on the break then?
You know what? Let me just say this before we go on the break. Let me tell this story, and then we can get into after the break, because after the break I want to talk about more specific like spoilery things, I guess. Especially considering one of the songs that we have on the break. So I'll kind of briefly go through the cliff notes of this. You've heard this story before, but I'll tell the listeners my kind of introduction to Night in the Woods and kind of like my personal attachment to it is maybe just better said here alongside the generalities. So I mentioned that I discovered the game on Kickstarter. Read about it probably on like Joystick or something like that. And I was so taken with it right away, like just the art style, the writing, and then the song Longest Night. Like I loved it. I was so into it right away. It was, at this period of my life, it felt like everything I wanted in a video game, like this angsty autumn fall vibe. Like even the tagline at the end of everything, hold on to anything, what a great line that is. I was so into all of it, backed it on Kickstarter, but I loved the song so much. I was kicking up my very first like podcast that I was wanting to do on my own. I was looking for like music for it, and I was like, oh, Longest Night would be really good for like an intro tune of that podcast. So I reached out to Alec at that time and asked him if like I could use Longest Night as the intro of my podcast I was kicking up. And he was like, yeah, of course, and like was very friendly. And he, at the end of the email response, he was like, like keep in touch, like let me know when the podcast drops. I would love to check it out, blah blah blah. very, very good, like nice and friendly. And I did like keep in touch, and we kind of developed a little bit of, a friendly kind of email back and forth rapport. I kind of got to know Scott and Bethany, the other two, people that worked on this game in that sense. And I remember at the first ever PAX South, they brought the game with them, and I got to meet them in person and stuff. And like I ended up feeling like a certain closeness to the game because of that. And there's a very like we've talked about how honest and how raw a lot of the game's like dialogue and characters are, but getting to actually like know and meet like the people that made this game, and seeing like how much of themselves, like you can get that sense, I think, playing a lot of indie games, like, oh yeah, the developers probably put a lot of themselves into this. But like you can feel, like in a very real way, you can feel those people, all of their feelings and emotions and thoughts and all of that stuff captured and writ large and painted onto the canvas of this game. Like it is them, and it is like them and their experience. And even if these things, I'm not saying that like, oh, like, Scott is Angus or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that. I mean that their lives and their experience and their thoughts and emotions and feelings and their life experience is captured into this game. And man, it really changed the way that I thought about the authorship of video games, because in this time of my life, like I would have considered myself somebody who appreciated video games, viewed them as an art form, blah, blah, blah. But I had never had a game like it never really hit me how personal a game can be as a piece of art to somebody. And it really changed the way that I consume video games forever, because now my favorite experience playing video games is feeling like I'm having a conversation with developers, intentional or not, like feeling their authorship and their fingerprints on a video game is my favorite thing about playing video games now. And it all started from Night in the Woods with those three people and the kindness that they showed to me, and kind of allowing me this window into them and their hearts and their souls. Alec passed away, took his own life, sadly. And there were a lot of controversies surrounding Alec, especially in the wake of like the Me Too movement and things like this. And I'm not here to, comment on that or him as a person or the things that he was being accused of and stuff like this. And, that's all terrible and, and all the rest. But like it felt like a very, very personal thing to kind of like forever, I don't know, associate this game with that and those people, and knowing like the struggles. And I don't know, man, like it's a very, very personal game for me. It's actually kind of tough for me to replay because it just feels very raw. But yeah, anyway, that's a bit of my history and connection to the game, and a bit of why it's so special to me, and felt like a better place to talk about now than kind of getting into more of the story specific stuff.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that's it is a better spot for it. I also, it's funny that we're doing Night in the Woods and then immediately after Angeline era, because for me, that feeling you're talking about of realizing that games can feel more handmade than they usually do, that came with Anodyne 2. That was like my awakening to that feeling, like a year or two later. So it's funny we're doing these two games back to back. But yeah, it's a really special feeling when you, again, I am mostly a gameplay centric person, but sometimes it is nice to feel like you are having kind of a dialogue, even if it's only mentally in your head, with the people making the art that you're enjoying, right? Like it is a very, very special feeling, and yeah, that makes perfect sense why this game means so much for you. Helps that it's a really good game, and the story is good, the writing is great, the music is great. It helps that all that is so good.
You should feel connected to the people making the art that you're consuming. I hope that when people listen to Bit Harmony, they're getting a sense of who we are as people through the art that we're making together. Like that is what art should do. You should feel connected to the person making it. Art, when you're making something, you are kind of desperate for that communication. Not like necessarily direct communication with the people enjoying your art, but saying, like, here I am, this is me, this is who I am. Can you connect to this? Can you relate to me? Can you see where I'm coming from? I think that any artist is kind of conveying that with their art. So yeah, very, very meaningful.
And if you can't connect with the art, you just don't need to say anything.
You can just leave it.
Anyway, let's go on a break then. This time we're going on a break for Angus' Story and Mallard's Tomb, once again from Night in the Woods, and we will be right back. Story and Mallard's Tomb from Night in the Woods. So you had linked me, and I know this is part of what you want to talk about in a second too, like Angus's backstory and everything.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't see this because I went down the B path. But yeah, you linked me the scene where Angus kind of tells you his backstory and kind of gives you his beliefs in like the universe and religion and everything like that. So
yeah,
this song was new to me from my memory, and also I didn't remember the scene that you linked me before, and I'm glad I saw the scene because this has such an outer spacey vibe, and otherwise I wouldn't have necessarily known why.
Sure.
Like, yeah, Angus is this critical thinker, faith in what you can see kind of character, and it makes perfect sense why he is that way when he explains it, and to the degree that he is that way. But yeah, it's really fun how they represent that musically, because again, it has almost like it has a mix of sci-fi with like the theremin kind of sound, but also like down to earth sounds with like acoustic guitar and stuff. Like, again, to go from theremin to acoustic guitar in the way that this song does is wild. It's super cool.
Yeah, it kind of gives it that like that sci-fi. Like Angus is like he's into like conspiracy theories and debunking things and stuff. Like he's very into that because it gives him a problem to solve. He's and that's something I can relate to a lot. And yeah, like his whole backstory that he gets into in that scene, that it's my favorite moment in the entire game, is that scene. They're just kind of looking at constellations while Angus is sharing his story. The instrument that is used, that kind of main instrument, that deep instrument, I'm pretty sure it's a bassoon. Which is I think maybe the perfect instrument to represent Angus as a character. This kind of deep sounding, like woodwind sort of vibe. I think it might be the perfect instrument to represent this character. But there are these three kind of main instruments that are kind of going into the main melodies. It's the bassoon, that warbly synth that you're talking about that almost sounds like a theremin, and then like some piano. And there are times when all three of them are playing at once. It almost sounds a bit messy, like they're talking over each other or something. And I kind of, in my most like Seth getting dumb and reading too much into things, I can almost kind of hear that as Angus and his sound, the bassoon, like cutting through the arguing of his two parents, kind of representing all of those things, or at least the drama from Angus's childhood, kind of coming to bear in the song itself, I guess.
See, it's funny you say that, because I don't necessarily disagree or anything. I think that's a fun read on it, or maybe fun isn't the right word, but a smart read on it. It's funny to me because when I hear that instrumentation, when I hear the bassoon, I'm like, yeah, it's a bassoon. It's big and deep because it's a big bear man walking around
because he's a big old bear. Yeah.
But it's fun because I think both of those are valid. He is, Angus is a big dude.
Big old bear.
He's a big old bear. He's a gentle bear, and he likes cooking and stuff. But this is probably my new to be honest, both of these are my favorite. The Angus story and Mallard's Tomb. These are my favorite tracks that we are playing this episode. I didn't realize how hard that cutscene was going to hit me, considering, again, I haven't played the game in 8 years. I don't have all of the memory and context leading up to this scene and everything. But yeah, the line he says near the end of it, where he says he believes in a universe that doesn't care and people who do. That got me pretty good.
Dude, that line hits like a ton of bricks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Angus, not to get too deep into it, but a lot of his backstory relates to childhood abuse and the physical and emotional abuse that he suffered from his parents, and the horrible things that his parents did to him, the way that he coped with those things, and the way that they informed the person that he eventually became, the problem solver, the rock, the person who wants to bring a sort of measured solution to everything. I relate to all of that so much, and the way that it informed his belief system and the sort of the way that he approaches life and people, like, is so like beautifully summarized in that quote. I believe in a universe that doesn't care and people who do. Like, man, it hits. Like, that's the kind of thing, like, I could get that like tattooed on me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so, like, I relate to that quote so much. I think that really sums up like the way that I feel about life in general. And that's what I mean. Like, these characters are always kind of casually just dropping lines that are like the most relatable human things you've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
I love Angus. I love this character. I love this moment. I love that quote, and I love this song. So
Yeah, that whole scene was just very revealing, and I having seen the scene, now I relate to Angus the most, beyond just, again, I liked him because he was a bear with a hat and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people that don't know me don't realize how anxious I am. Like, I understand how I come across. Like, I come across as pretty chill and relaxed or whatever. I am one of the most anxious people you'll ever meet, and a lot of that's my upbringing. My grandma raised me, and she is the only person more anxious in the world than I am, I think. And yet, when I'm left to my own devices, I'm super anxious. But when other people start panicking, that's when I'm good. So
Yes.
I tend to thrive when other people are not thriving.
Right.
Which is, at times it feels like a superpower. And at other times it's like, oh, I wish I could not be panicking right now over the fact that, like, I'm 15 minutes late to something. Like, the world is ending, not even 15, but like 5 minutes late, or plans got delayed an hour, and then now it feels like my entire day is ruined. I would love to have the clarity of other people freaking out about it, so I would be fine. I also love the fact that he loves cooking. I basically almost never cooked in my life until I got together with my wife, and then I became like the main person making food, and I relate to that. And again, that it's like problem to solve, and that it's like cooking is like a science. So it is like a scientific thing that you can do, an operation you can do that solves problems and makes people happy, and is like something you can like literally measure and take care of.
Yes.
I quite enjoy cooking now in a way I never would have thought. And it was fun to see that summed up by, again, like a cartoon bear in this video game.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things too, where something that Angus kind of arrives to, that I think a lot of people who do live with anxiety, myself, present company included, I can relate to a lot of that too. The way that you show up for, and the way that you're able to problem solve, and the way that you're able to protect and care for other people. Like, what if you're able to do that for yourself?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. So like, I think that there's a big part of like everybody's journey through this life and dealing with things like anxiety and dealing with the circumstances that life has given you, the things that made you the person that you are. You know, like that, like that is the end result of that, is understanding those things and finding a way to angle them to help yourself too, because yeah, man, like you're important.
This is something I've never even expressed to you. You know, I said at the beginning of the episode that like I'm fully putting my hands up and letting you take the wheel on this one because I just didn't have time to replay this game. That gave me genuine anxiety. The idea of like, oh, I'm about to go in and be half of this podcast that's talking about a game I only played once 8 years ago. Like I don't like that feeling. It wasn't until you sent me the batch of songs to go over. I'm like, okay, this is a problem I can solve. I can look at this. This is a physical thing. I can figure out what music we can put in here, besides the ones that you were saying were musts or whatever. Like that was the first time with this episode that I felt I was like, okay, we can do this. And of course, that's also me being dumb and selfish and not like I obviously have full faith in you to do. You've been podcasting way longer than I have anyway, but I'm just so used to taking the reins on so many things, that it feels weird to cede that control even to my co-host that I've known for years and that I love. You know, like that feels weird to me at times, but when we started recording, I'm like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be fine. I don't need these knots in my stomach anymore. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna get through.
It's wild, and I mean, you know my stance on this, and I'll say it here because I anybody listening to this that can relate to anything that you've said or that I've said or anything that we've talked about here about anxiety, therapy and medication, like it is a solved problem, and it will change your life. It is unreal how much therapy and medication can literally change your life, and the way that anxiety, in ways that you probably don't even fully understand, lords over anything that you don't like about yourself, anything negative that you feel about yourself or your life or the way that you navigate through life. Anxiety is probably the root of it, you know, and managing that with therapy and medication will change your life. So anybody listening that can relate to that, do talk to your doctor, whatever. I know that like living in America, the healthcare system is really bad and scary here. I was shocked at how easy it was for me. I kind of started this journey for myself this year. I was shocked at how easy it was for me to get a hold of medication and therapy, and how inexpensive it was for me to do that. So I encourage you to not talk yourself out of it, to take care of yourself, and to actually seek out those things for yourself, because it is genuinely life-changing. It will change your life. So yeah, and I know that things are probably different for you living in Germany and stuff like this, but I hope for that for you at some point too. So
yeah, it turns out normal human brains aren't supposed to be worried about how disastrous a goofy little video game music podcast might end up being to that degree. It turns out that's not how things are supposed to work, especially when you're co-hosting it with someone who is very knowledgeable on the subject you're doing it on. With Mallard's Tomb, this was my other pick. This one I know for sure was one of my picks because I was like, damn, this song is sick. This is a fantastic song. What is the context of this one?
I was going to ask if you had done this during your playthrough or not. This is a totally missable little offshoot thing. Mallard P. Bloominggrow is a festival float, a giant like duck festival float that that they used to put out as part of like the spring parade or whatever in Possum Springs. They ended up retiring it because one year it ran over a kid.
Oh, I do kind of remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can find mallard like tucked away and hidden like in the town hall or something like this. They're like off in this little hidden closet or whatever, and you find the sort of decommissioned and falling apart mallard float that is still there. And yeah, like May is like, this is a tomb. This is Mallard's tomb. You know, that this little closet here is Mallard's tomb. And there's a cute little thing you can do. Like there's a hole in the side of Mallard because the float is falling apart now, and there's a little family of rats that live in there, and if you go out of your way to bring them food every day, the family will grow, and they'll actually like pop back up in like little different portions of the game. Like it's really cool. Like it's a neat little optional thing. And it's also a totally like, a why does it sound like this down here moment, because it's like, why is one of the best songs in the game in this little hidden missable moment about a giant duck float?
Yeah, that was going to literally be my next thought. Was okay, now that I know the context, I understand it even less. But again, I love moments like that. Yeah, we love the why does it sound like this down here-ness of video games for video game music at times. I loved this song. This instantly went on like my personal playlist. It's just so damn moody in the beginning. I really, really, really liked. It was kind of like gentle yet at the same time sharp piano keys around 114, and accompanied once again by that damn like super bad quality but in a good way like kick drum. I loved it. That moment specifically is my favorite like moment musically in this episode, and I just really, really quite enjoyed this one.
The Twin Peaks guitars are back. Like it's really, really good stuff. This is one of those moments that'll just like hit you, where you're just like, my God. And it's a funny moment. Like it's played up for like humor. The game, for all of the very deep conversation we've had today in this episode, and there's a lot of that in the game. The game's also really funny. And this is a very funny moment too. So it's funny to have a song like this during that.
Yeah, that was also kind of my logic of like, let's have kind of like I don't know, like an emotional break. Let's have, I don't know, something a little less heavy. A lot of these are like kind of not exactly heavy, but like you can feel the depression, the waves of depression behind a lot of these songs.
Yeah, sure.
So in this section, we have no notes. This is just completely open for Seth to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. So I don't know where. I'm sure you have multiple places you would like to cover here.
We've actually hit on a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about just kind of naturally over the course of the conversation here. So I don't have actually too much to add to this. One thing that I would like to talk about is this character Casey that I mentioned before, and a little bit of you kind of mentioned the Lovecraftian element of the game, because the game does have a dark underbelly to it. Possum Springs, one of the big kind of mysteries of the game, one of the driving forces of the narrative, is kind of uncovering this cult that exists in Possum Springs. There is a lot of these very human themes, but there's also, you mentioned that this is like a Rust Belt kind of town, kind of this mining town, this town of industry that is kind of still hanging on by a thread, and there's this cult of people who don't want Possum Springs to ever change. The game has a huge theme of that too, and they are literally sacrificing people to this like eldritch goat god who they think is kind of maintaining and preserving the history and sanctity of Possum Springs or something like that. One of the big plot threads in the game is this character Casey, this kid who was a friend. Casey was like part of the friend group with Angus and May and B, and people knew Casey, and one day Casey, got on a train and, and left town and like was never heard from again. And people don't talk about Casey anymore. In fact, Casey like never comes up. Casey's more or less forgotten about by most people. There's like the people remember that like he left or whatever, but they never really questioned why. And you come to find out later that the cult kidnaps people that they think that, nobody will miss, and, and sacrifices them and kills them, to sacrifice them to this like goat god. And Casey was one of those people. And it's this kind of notion of there's this theme of the game of like leaving home, leaving your hometown, returning, but not really feeling like your home is the same. Like you can't go back home at the same time. And like the first song that you play with your band is called Die Anywhere Else, like I want to die anywhere else but my hometown. And this character Casey, not only did he end up dying in the town that he never got to leave, not only did he end up being killed in the service of saving an antiquated idea for this town, but nobody even misses him. The cult is right. They picked him and a bunch of others, dozens of others, to sacrifice because they won't be missed, and they're right. Nobody's talking about him. But Casey's theme, a song just called Where's Casey, crops up again and again. The leitmotif of it crops up again and again through the game. And this is a little bit of a spoiler for the outro of this episode, but I know that we're not going to have a chance to stop and talk about it, so I'll mention it here. The outro of this episode is literally just going to be like the end credits music. And Casey's theme, I'm getting emotional talking about this. Casey's theme crops up in that end credit song, but it sounds like triumphant, like almost like Casey's able to be like free again or something, and like just the way that like the way that it keeps coming up, it's almost like nobody's talking about it, and outwardly you would assume that nobody remembers or cared about this person, but it's lingering in the back of their mind still, and it's represented through the music. And I just think that's beautiful. I just think that's a really powerful thing that they illustrate like through the music of this game. So yeah, I wanted to mention all of that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing to bring up, especially the cult stuff and what they're doing and the why, like literally sacrificing young people at the expense of like keeping this awful little nothing town going, basically, right? So like I said earlier, I was a different person in 2017. I was not nearly as like politically aware or radicalized or just understanding of how the world works or whatever. I remember being like in love with the game at the time, but I kind of balked a little at the supernatural stuff. To me at the time, I was like, this feels like it's just like all of a sudden getting in the way of what I liked about the game, which again, the characters or whatever. But again, haven't replayed the game recently, but as I've thought back on it over the years, and like after having an understanding of like America better and what makes people's what motivates people in America and what people seem to want in America, and it like, yeah, maybe it's a little on the nose, but maybe it's not on the nose enough based on the last couple of years, especially this past year in particular. Like, yeah, man, we call like the modern Republicans like a death cult for a reason, man. Like it literally, that is basically what they're doing, just on a bigger scale than just one Rust Belt town, right? Yeah, like that's actually, it's funny. Like I said, back in 2017, I didn't really like the paranormal twist, but again, if you're viewing it as a metaphor, it is more apt now than ever. That's one of the main reasons I'd like to go back and replay it, is to see what I feel about it or how I feel about it now compared to again 9 years ago or whatever. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
important that we at least talked about that a little here, because I think that's such a. I remember other people saying the same thing back then, and I wonder if those same people have had the realizations and awakenings that I have to how awful of a country America is at this point.
I mean, you know, the notion of like literally snuffing out the potential of a new generation for in the service of maintaining your like antiquated way of thinking or way of life or the way things were. Like what a better metaphor is there than that, than a death cult sacrificing kids that they think nobody will miss.
Right. Right.
You know, like that's powerful stuff, man.
Yeah. Like I said, there's part of me is like, maybe that's just too on the nose, but I don't think so anymore. I don't think any satire, any level of satire or metaphor or anything breaks through to most of these people. So
Yeah.
make it as on the nose as you break that damn nose, I guess, because like nothing else is gonna break through to these people.
Yeah. It's a great game, man. There's a lot to chew on, and there's also like Night in the Woods. I mentioned this earlier. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of great like video essays and stuff out there about Night in the Woods. Like there's like way more to say about this game than we even have time to get into. But man, like the game just gives you so much to chew on, so much to think about. There's so much here, and I genuinely think it's very important. And yeah, it's probably only served to become more important, more required reading in the years since it released.
Sadly, it shouldn't be that way, but yeah, I would fully agree. It's way more relevant now than it was even just 8 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean those were the main we've touched on a lot of what I wanted to make sure that we touched on here. You know, in terms of story beats and themes and yeah, my history with the game. I think we pretty well covered it.
Okay, cool. Then let's go on our last break of the episode. We're going to break for Greg's Woods and Fireflies on the Porch from Night in the Woods, and we will be right back. was Greg's Woods and Fireflies on the Porch. So with Greg's Woods, again, I didn't do like the Greg path in the one time I played this game, but I think you, of course, you would be the one to like tell me what happened with Greg's backstory and like they had like sheep or something that he accidentally let out or something like that. Yeah. So like I said, but I still don't have like the context. I didn't watch the scene for it, but I remember you talking about that at one point. It's also interesting to me that this song immediately, it just feels different compared to all the other songs that we've played on this episode. Like it is to me more nostalgic, but it's nostalgic in a more gentle way and even kind of like a reserved way, which is also very like in direct contrast with Greg, who is on the surface very hyper and all over the place. I don't know. It was nice. It was cute. It was cute getting this like sweet and sentimental song being associated with Greg of all characters.
Right. Greg is, self-described as like as parking lot trash. Greg Greg feels like he doesn't have a future or anything like that. And really it was meeting Angus that kind of gave Greg a purpose, because knowing Angus's backstory, Greg, kind of says like, Angus needs somebody that loves him in his life, and so Greg has this overwhelming sense of, for everything that is keeping Greg in Possum Springs and clinging to Greg's past, he knows that ultimately he has to leave and kind of grow beyond it so that he can kind of start a new life with Angus and be there for the person he loves, which will, give his life that he this entire time hasn't really put a lot of meaning into. It will give him purpose to just be somebody that loves this person. Which is very sweet. And again, knowing how just hyperactive and silly, Greg is, the sheep thing comes from a moment in Greg's backstory, which I don't remember if it was like his uncle or something like that, who had a farm where Greg's parents like basically like dropped him off there so that they wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. And Greg let loose some of his uncle's sheep and they like ran off to the interstate, and they all started taking off towards the woods. 4 of them were like immediately like hit and killed by a semi truck. And then some of the others made it through to the other side and like escaped into the woods. They managed to get some of them back, but there was like a sheep that made it into the woods and like nobody ever saw it again. And so Greg got a tattoo of that sheep to remind him that he wants to be that sheep, the one that is willing to, whatever it takes, even if it means I could get hit by a semi truck, even if it means I could get captured and brought back in, like my fight, my wanting to leave this place is worth it because there's a chance that I can make it into the woods. So anyway, that is what this song all kind of represents. It is a brief moment of calm in a storm, which I imagine is just kind of what it's like to be in Greg's mind. Just, generally speaking, Greg, probably, very likely has like ADD or ADHD or something like that. And yeah, it's a nice quiet moment in these kind of like sunset woods, Greg kind of opening up to you in a way that he hadn't before, because, Greg has been up to this point the fun friend. Your relationship with Greg is, like it's just like how it was when we were kids, and it feels good because we never have to grow up. And like now it's kind of time to get real, with like your friend that you didn't really have like a quote unquote real like adult relationship with. Like it's time to deepen that and see like how you fit into the structure of Greg's life. Are you holding him back, or are you willing to let him go and let him grow? Are you willing to grow with him? So anyway, this song kind of sends up all of that stuff. I love that it has, again, a Possum Springs leitmotif that comes in at 137, because Possum Springs is a thing that keeps coming back, this hometown that you can't really take out of these people. You know, that's something that even in the Stephanie episode, we kind of talked about that, you know, for as much of my life, you know, wherever my life takes me, like wherever I wind up, there will always be a part of me that is just like a kid in the back of my dad's car looking out at endless cornfields in Illinois. You know, like that is always going to be a piece of me. And so the idea that they work in like the town theme into Greg's kind of theme of like longing to escape, and not really being able to, you can't take the Possum Springs, you know, out of the Greg, I think is very, very important.
Yeah, I like that callback too. That was my main like note about the song that I have, was I just love that part of the song in general. I love that, yeah, they're like the piano is really coming in strong with the backing strings. But then I love that then that's like the end before the loop, and then it kind of goes back to again that like Nokia ringtone, Hypnospace Outlaw vibe. Like I don't know, that was just fun to me, that's where the loop is. Yeah, Greg always reminded me. I'm in freshman year of high school in homeroom or whatever you called it back then. There was the homeroom teacher was asking everyone what their dreams were or whatever, which, you know, that's so trite and whatever. I understand the idea, but like, come on, man, like let's lessen our scope, I guess, for 15-year-olds or 14-year-olds. And he asked someone in that class what their dream was, and they just said to not live here in this town anymore. And like, I last I checked with them on Facebook, they still live there, you know, which also that breaks my heart. You know, maybe they're okay with it, maybe they changed or whatever, or they found happiness in Northwest Ohio. I don't know, but I always think back to that. They probably don't even remember that they said that, but I do, because my memory is very, very specific with remembering things like that. And yeah, that's who Greg always reminded me of, was that person from high school that their only dream was to get out of Findlay, Ohio, and they did not tragically make it out of Findlay, Ohio. Yeah, Greg is definitely coded as the character that is most likely to never get out of there, at least for the most part. When it comes to Fireflies on the Porch, this is probably the song that I have the least notes on, even though I quite like it. I just didn't have that much to say about it. It just, what it most made me think of was like Final Fantasy. It's got like, you know,
I have
like
that exact note. Yep.
Yeah, it's got like in Final Fantasy 6, you know, we did a whole episode in Final Fantasy 6, like when you're in a cave dungeon, and then you get like to the halfway point, and then there's like a pool of water that acts as your save point and is like a heal for you. That's what it reminds me of, like right before a giant snail boss or whatever.
It's that like, yeah, that like arpeggiated, like wistful longing kind of nature that it has. Do you remember this moment in the game? This is actually from the B path. I wanted to make sure that we represented B's story a little with this. Do you remember this?
No, I do not.
This comes from, there's a moment in the game where B has to go on like a house call. It's kind of late into the route, I think it's one of the last B hangouts. And you tag along with B to like this old lady's house. She's like having a problem with like her furnace, and May winds up just like beating the crap out of this furnace to like fix it basically. And yeah, like they kind of leave the lady's house, you know, feeling like, oh God, like this is how we spent our night dealing with this old lady and her crappy furnace. And you know, B is kind of, you know, she's tired, like she's world weary, you know, and here's May, who like never really grew up, and she already has these mixed emotions about May because May kind of abandoned her and stuff like this, and she's not really too sure if she's ready to kind of let May back in. And May is kind of like, in her own way, trying to introduce a little bit of playfulness back into her life, a little bit of, you know, just joy of like, it's not all bad. Like you can actually stop and enjoy life sometimes. And so what you do is you like gather up these fireflies and bring them back to the porch that Bee is sitting on at the front of this lady's house. And it's just kind of a nice little moment with them that I really like and appreciate. And I think that the song is just really pretty, very sweet. I like the way that the song kind of like builds up, like with the bass and the strings. It really kind of makes itself full, and just a sweet moment. And like I said, I wanted to make sure that we represent the Bee story here, because I do think Bee is another really great character, and that relationship, I think, is another very important and worthwhile one.
Yeah, I didn't remember that until you started describing it, and then I can picture it in my head now. I do remember this story chunk or relationship segment now. So yeah, that's nice. I do remember gathering up the fireflies. There's just something so evocative about just like the concept of fireflies, because
yes,
even as a kid, like I was never like a big bug person. I never was like running around like capturing bugs usually. But yeah, I remember in summertime, one of my cousins would capture fireflies in jars just briefly before letting them go, just to see them glowing in there and stuff. Yeah, there's just something so childlike but sweet and innocent and playful about anything to do with fire. Fireflies are just cool, man. They're just a cool thing.
I fireflies give us the opportunity to like interact with and like capture the stars, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like the blinking and twinkling of fireflies at night is the same way stars do, and we can't reach out and touch the stars. We can only look at them from afar. Fireflies almost give us like the chance to to actually like grab hold of the stars. And I think that's really there is something childlike and whimsical and kind of like imaginative about that. And I love fireflies. I loved catching them when I was a kid, and that's very like summer nights in Chicago in my granny's backyard. Like fireflies remind me of that. Every single time.
Yeah. Whenever fireflies as just a word or concept is brought up in any like form of media, it is immediately wistful and nostalgic to me.
I my town in Animal Crossing New Leaf, and by extension I also adopted this for New Horizons. The name is Hotaru, which is Japanese for firefly.
Oh, okay.
And it's because of exactly that, like wistful, nostalgic kind of feeling. I always really connected to fireflies that way.
Yeah. Great animal, great word, great evocative imagery. Fireflies.
Yeah.
With that said, then that's actually the bulk of the episode. We tried our hardest, and like we said earlier, there just weren't basically any YouTube comments that weren't just soul-shatteringly sad or like there just was not. I don't ever want there to be like the YouTube comment oversharing corner should be a reprieve from that mostly. And if it's nothing but sad stuff, I just don't want to do it. So we decided to not do it in this case. And voicemails, all we had was Spritelesses, and we played that at the top of the show. So that actually is basically the whole episode. I will remind anyone that wants to send in a voicemail. You can do that in a couple ways. You can email it to bitharmonypod@gmail.com. Or you can dial those in if you're in the United States to 216-230-8540. That number again is 216-230-8540. The number is also always in the show notes and everything. If you're trying to drive and you can't write it down fast enough, don't write while driving. But anyway, if you're dialing that in, you should try and keep those to less than 3 minutes, because Google Voice will just boot you out. But yeah, if you're emailing it to us, you can just send it a message as long as you want. But that is it on that front. I will let Seth take over for the Patreon shoutouts.
Yeah, please do consider, if you like the show, supporting us on Patreon. It really helps us out, obviously, and is greatly appreciated. And you also get exclusive perks for doing so. You get early access to the show. You get exclusive mini episodes to the show at the Golden Banana tier or higher. And yeah, you can check out a 7-day free trial if you want to try it on and see what the deal is. I mean, look, man, it's the holiday season. Get yourself something nice. Get yourself a subscription to our Patreon. Support us and get yourself some good exclusive content while you're at it. You deserve it this holiday.
See how you look decked out in an all-in Patreon subscription.
That's right. Just try it on for size and join the ranks of these fine folks that we thank at the end of all of our episodes. Bit Harmony is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you. Thank you to our Triforce tier supporters: Adam Caparello, Bowza, Quagmire, Dan and Luma, Danielina Hosa, SAZ, Foolish Fuji, John Cummins, Josh Vaughn, Ligerwoods 330, and Uncle Randy. And thank you to our Golden Banana tier supporters: Big Dogs Only, Bill Tucker, Gamer Jason, Hopple, John 32, Liam D, Old Drake, Phelan Ward, Rob Yapel, Shy Guy, thank you Shy Guy, Sean Ashton, Sparky, and Stephen Keller. We appreciate y'all so much for your support. Like I said, join their ranks this holiday season. Check out a 7-day free trial. See what all the fuss is about. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you all for your support as always. Anything you can do for us is appreciated, even if it's just telling us that you like the show. You have no idea how much that means.
Means a lot.
Just to hear that's really all it takes to make me happy, but I will also take money. That's fine too. Reminder that the next full episode is on December 28th, or rather, we'll be hitting the public feed on December 28th. That's going to be on Angeline Era. I know that game just came out literally a couple days ago. We haven't worked out how we're going to handle like spoilers and whatnot, but I would imagine we're not going to get full on into it on that episode just because of how recent of a release it was. But
sure,
yeah. And also as a reminder, if you want a voicemail specifically on the Angeline Era episode, get those in pretty early. I'd say by like December 21st, you probably want to have that in. Otherwise, all we've got left besides the outro are the haikus.
Yes. Do you want to go first? I feel like I've gone first the past few times. Not that we've done one of these in a while either.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, looking at my giant list of haikus, I didn't realize we haven't done one since Bloodborne, and also there was like a break in there. It's been quite a while since we've had a haiku. I'll go first. I'm sure mine is not as good anyway, especially for this game. Normally we try and say what our themes were. I think it will be very obvious what my theme is once we get in here. So, coming home again. No one spared time's ravages, except Taco Bell. Which is the second time we've brought up Taco Bell on this episode, and
that's funny.
We bring it up every couple episodes, I think, at this point. Look, I've said it before, I'll keep repeating it. Besides, like, loved ones, Taco Bell is the thing I miss most about America. And I know that when I eventually do revisit America again, that everything will be different and changed, and a lot of it will be bad, but the Taco Bell will be exactly how I remember it.
Yeah. Taco Bell never changes. It's there for us all. Taco Bell is the best fast food restaurant.
It's not even close.
Yeah. Yep. And it's funny that question was on the Nintendo Drive one week, and like I brought up, I said like, no, dude, like it's Taco Bell, and people were like shocked that I love Taco Bell so much.
What are the other options? What even comes close?
People bring up McDonald's.
No.
Look. Yeah, like I like that, and then you get into if you really want to get dumb, and you get into like more fast casual places like a Culver's or a Portillo's or whatever. But Culver's, in terms of
Culver's is great, but it's not the same thing as a Taco Bell.
It's or Five Guys or something. if we're talking about fast food, like a place where I can still get something, a spicy potato soft taco is still like $1.29. You know, like if you're talking about a place where I can still get something that is that inexpensive, I go to Taco Bell and I get their like deluxe box that's like $6.99. I can get a beefy 5-layer burrito, a cheesy gordita crunch, cinnamon twists, and a drink for $6.99. You can't, like, that's fast food.
In this economy? Come on.
In this economy, that's fast food. They also have the best breakfast in the game, period. So
I swear this is not sponsored by Taco Bell. This is just how we both feel about Taco Bell.
Dude, it rules. Yeah. My wife like was a restaurant general manager for a Taco Bell for over a decade. Like
a noble
Taco
profession.
Bell, well, yeah. I mean, Taco Bell literally kept a roof above our heads. You know, Taco Bell was there for us when many people were not. You know. So
Taco Bell's there for you at 3 a.m. when no one else is. Literally no one else is there for you. You're sad and lonely and you go through the Taco Bell drive-thru. There's not a better fast food restaurant. There's not a better thing to represent Night in the Woods than Taco Bell.
I could not agree more. Yeah, I could not agree more. I'm glad we got to talk about that here at the end of the episode. You know, it's funny. Our haiku they're actually not as different as you might think. I went for a very similar theme, but I got, you know, thinking about this game, it's again a very personal game for me. I was in my feels when I was writing this, but I feel like I write my best stuff when I'm sad and melancholic and stuff, and I'm actually pretty proud of the way this turned out. So that was a real throat clear.
I could tell.
that had a little juice behind it. Yeah. I've been sick, so I apologize for any gross sickly noises, but fallen leaves recall that returning isn't quite the same as belonging.
Damn.
So there you go.
You could almost fit a Taco Bell reference.
Could almost fit it in. Little Taco Bell in there, yeah.
But yeah, if anything, that should just show you. Together, we wrote a complete haiku that talked about emotions and feelings and talked about Taco Bell in there as well. So it really, no, all jokes aside, it was a very nice haiku. I don't want to turn it completely into a joke about Taco Bell again.
Yeah, it's all of these beautiful emotions and, you know, nostalgia and coming home and Taco Bell are all at the heart of the Night in the Woods experience.
Yeah, you've got the crunchy inner layer of the cheesy gordita crunch are the emotions, and then you've got the Taco Bell, the outer soft shell stuck to the hard shell with melted cheese. That's the Taco Bell wrapping its arms around you and your emotion. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. It's time to get out of here.
I'm not a violent person. I would hurt someone for some Taco Bell right now.
Within the past 2 weeks, I've dreamed about eating Taco Bell. That's how long it's been for me.
What last quick thing about Taco Bell before we close out this episode? My father-in-law, he passed away last year, but when he was still alive and well, he came to visit us in Louisiana when my wife was still working at Taco Bell. And he came down with his wife. They lived in Alaska, where you also can't get Taco Bell. They don't have Taco Bell in Alaska. And that was his thing too. You know, everybody who lives away from a Taco Bell, it's the number one thing they miss is Taco Bell. Yeah. So when he came back down to visit us, we were like, where do you want to go have dinner? And he was like, can we go to Taco Bell? And that dude ordered a party pack for himself, and it was like 24 tacos.
He was having a one-man party.
Yeah, he was having a one. Dude, he must have had like 30 fire sauce packets. I have never seen somebody more gleefully down 24 soft tacos at Taco Bell doused in fire sauce. Like, you've never seen a happier man, like in his, like, you know, mid 50s, just like you remember like the end scene of Harold and Kumar go to White Castle?
Yeah, the slow motion. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that. Like I got to witness that, and it was beautiful. I was happy that we were able to give our father-in-law that experience, you know. So
I'm gonna have to like live stream or record myself eating Taco Bell the next time I'm in America. It's
yeah, dude.
the build up has been immense, and the payoff will surely be worth it. Speaking of payoff, let's get out of here. Your outro this episode is the end credits from Night in the Woods. We'll be back next time for Angeline Era. Thank you all for sticking around through this one. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. I don't know, just tossing bikes into the river, bro.